Hello, my friend. I'm at a cafe, but I will keep my voice down and read this book aloud, relatively aloud. You see, this is a cafe. I'm going to start a book club in Shenzhen, and this is the book we're going to read together. And I spent my day reading this book, so let me just read something on the back page. In his early 30s, Paul Millard had everything he thought he wanted: a high-paying job working with CEOs and a long list of impressive achievements and credentials. Yet instead of feeling fulfilled, he sensed something was wrong. The Pathless path is his story of living the default path and embarking on an uncertain but ultimately more fulfilling path. Upon leaving his job, Paul is forced to reckon with his own lack of wisdom about what he really wants. Through living in different countries, experimenting with working in different ways, and taking extended breaks from work, Paul is able to piece together a set of ideas and principles that help him find a way forward. That approach, the Pathless path, is a philosophical roadmap for people who are searching for better ways of thinking about work and life in a fast-changing world. And about Paul Millard is an independent writer, freelancer, coach, and digital creator. He has written online for many years and has built a growing audience of curious humans from around the world. He spent several years working in strategy consulting before deciding to walk away and embrace a Pathless path. He is fascinated about how our relationship to work is shifting and how more people can live lives where they can thrive. Okay, let me read chapter 1. I was extremely nervous as the teacher of my semester-long Chinese language class called my name. My heart started to race. I took a deep breath and began. I shared the story of quitting my job, deciding to move to Taiwan, meeting the woman who would become my wife, starting an online business, and living in 5 different countries. It was the first time I had shared my story in another language. And as I finished, a calmness swept over my body. It was the end of a 3-month period where I had felt completely alive. Spending my time learning, creating, solving problems, and spending time exploring Taipei with my wife. This would have been unimaginable to me 5 years earlier when I lived in New York City. I was single, spending my time at work, eating out, partying with friends, dating, and constantly plotting ways to work less or escape work altogether. I was working at a consulting firm, making nearly $200,000 a year, and working on projects for some of the most recognizable CEOs in the world. I was successful, and on my way to being even more successful. This was the end result of an obsessive focus on getting ahead in my 20s. It's a state familiar to many. Study hard, get good grades, get a good job, then put your head down and keep going indefinitely. This is what I call the default path. Growing up, I thought making $100,000 a year made someone rich. When I made that amount for the first time at 27, I felt like I had more than I could ever need. Yet I opted into an identity that didn't accept such complacency. Everyone around me was always moving forward towards the next achievement. Chasing achievements is what brought me to that New York City job working with CEOs, the final one before I decided to quit. Most mornings I came into the office and sat there struggling to start my day. I watched the people pass my desk and wondered if they felt the same stuckness as I did. Eventually, I would start my work, helping company boards assess their senior executives to see who the next CEO of the company should be. I read through feedback reports from people throughout the company and created summarized reports of each executive's strengths and weaknesses. We like to think that once we make it, we can finally be ourselves. But based on who the company selected, it was clear that the longer people stay at a company, the higher odds that they would become what the company wanted. I realized I didn't want that to happen to me. In a 10-year period, I worked for 5 companies and spent 2 years in grad school. I moved from job to job, convinced the next stop was always the final stop. My restlessness was easy to hide because my path was filled with impressive names and achievements. And when you are on such a path, no one asks, why are you doing this? It took me a while to recognize this blind spot and have the courage to start asking myself those kind of deeper questions in a serious way. Alright, I'll stop here. It's too quiet here, and I just don't feel comfortable reading this quietly. I want to read aloud. Maybe I just write some journals instead.